I am Danielle. I am 30 years old and I am in office. I married my husband, Fred, 3 years as of now. We do not have a child yet. My marriage with my husband is we are enjoying our life together. We both work, so we're financially stable and we have many interests in common that we never run out of topics to talk about. We have a similar way of thinking about things, and when I'm with him, I feel very comfortable being with him. I am sure that I will never meet anyone better than Fred. Fred and I have a perfect married one. There was one problem that was very me. Well, it's a problem that many families might face, and that is the mother problem. However, I feel that the problems I have with my mother-in-law may be more problematic than other families. First, let me tell you how bad Nikki, my mother-in-law, is. Regularly, Nikki would just talk bad about to me in my face.
Danielle, what are you wearing?
Oh, it's one of my favorite skirts.
Well, I think it's a bit out of fashion, a bit too swanky. It's what prostitutes would wear. I mean, like those prostitutes who are unpopular and cannot even get a guy.
Not only does she talk bad about me behind my back, but she also makes me do all the household chores, like cleaning.
Oh, yeah, Danielle. Could you clean up my bathtub for... What do you mean, what? You should be thankful that you stay with us, so you should be your gratitude to us by cleaning up instead of being a couch potato.
Well, I wasn't saying that being a couch potato is bad.
Well then, just clean my bathtub clean. When you're done cleaning my bathroom, could you also mow the lawn in the backyard? And while you're at it, could you pick up some groceries for tonight's dinner and anything else I might need? Don't forget to make dinner for all of us.
That's too much. She's asking for all the household chores, even though Nikki was asking too much from me since I just got married. That's why I decided to put up with her, just because I wanted to build a good relationship. However, the level of Nikki picking on me increased more and more. This is about this one day I visited Nikki and Brad, my father-in-law. I cooked and prepared dinner as nice as I could, so I did. Fred and Brad enjoyed my cooking in seconds, but Nikki was mumbling.
This dish is so bland. This dish is a great way to use up leftover rice and the texture of this food. I shouldn't have made Danielle, who is a good cook, prepare us the dinner. She just wasted such great ingredients.
After she muttered those words, she threw away my prepared dinner into a can. I didn't expect her to do such a thing, so I was just confused.
Nikki, what are you doing? Are you...
Mom, that is too horrible.
Are you two serious? I can't believe this. Why are you both on her side when you two should be on my side?
Even though I was very angry and upset because Nikki threw the food away in front of me. But since Brad and Fred scolded him, I felt a little better.
Brad even told me secretly, to tell you the truth, your cooking is way better than hers. So do not take her seriously. She doesn't have any senses in her buds.
Ever since Brad told me that, after incident, I never got mad or upset. Since then, Fred knew that Nikki had a crush on me, and as he cared for me, every time he visited his parents' place, he would take me with him, which was very nice of him. Thanks to Fred, this allowed me to reasonable distance from Nikki and has been reduced a lot. So only once a year I would go to gatherings, but then it's not a surprise, but an incident happened at that family gathering also. At the family gathering, as there were many people, a banquet was held, and the main person who prepared the food for the banquet was... I helped with the cooking, but Nikki one who was in charge assigning the serving and placing the food on the... When I sat down at my seat, which was to me, I had a bad feeling for some. So I checked my food, which was placed in front of me with knife and fork. When I looked closely, it seems like eggshells were in my food. And not only eggshells, but there were a few strands of hair in the food. I knew it, and my instincts were right. Only Nikki would do such a thing. So I secretly replaced the dish that was placed at my seat with Nikki's, which was across from mine. When it was time for everyone to eat, she took a big bite, and we all heard a crunchy noise as she chewed. She made a scene, and everyone was trying to see what was going on.
Someone put eggshells and hair in my food?
Nikki screamed, and everyone looked worried about her.
Without any hesitation, Nikki said, "It's you who did this," and you pointed fingers at me.
All the relatives who were there were looking at me coldly.
Nikki, you were the one who was ghost serving. I was in the kitchen just helping out. How could I even do that?
You could sneak out of the kitchen a second and place the eggshells in your food, or you could grind them up and add them to your garden soil as a natural fertilizer.
Then another relative who was helping in the kitchen with me said Danielle was always in the kitchen, so it could be her who did it. Also, she came to this table with me where there was no moment for her to do such, and she defended for me.
Why do you always suspect Daniela when you know who did it?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by edit, but if you want me to correct any spelling or grammar mistakes in your message, feel free to send it over.
Mom, don't tell me you were the one who planned this.
For Nikki's sake, I didn't want to do anything, but as soon as the toast was made and served, I had a bad feeling, so I checked my food and found that there were egg strands with hair in it.
Since Nikki was picking on me from the beginning of our marriage,
And since she was the one who cooked and served the plates, I just assumed that Nikki would be one who would do such a thing to me, switched our plates. But then there is no evidence that actually did this. I shouldn't have just assumed it was just because she has been picking or the time. One.
I'm such a great actress. As I said that, everyone was feeling me and looking at Nikki with dismay.
Nikki didn't expect that, so she didn't know what to do. But Brad scolded, "Nikki, you don't do such things. You're just embarrassing," and took her home.
Well, if this was the last incident, wouldn't have considered my problem. That big of an issue. However, Nikki didn't learn her lesson. After that, Nikki stopped picking, or instead, she started calling me Sharon called me 3 times a day, morning and night. If I didn't pick up, she would keep calling me until I picked up. And if I do answer, she would just her day, wasting my time. Not only did she call, but she would just show up at our house without informing me and stay at our house for a very long time doing anything. Even though she doesn't pick on me, she talks to me too much that I can't be bothered to listen to all of her stories. She always wastes my weekends and,
Even Fred told her off, saying, "Mom, you not come over to our house," so she doesn't even listen to him.
Therefore, in order to avoid wasting my precious time with her, I decided to evacuate to my parents' house every weekend. I thought this would fix everything, but after 3 weeks of this, Nikki caught Fred and me doing it, so she started coming over to my parents' house instead. She even lied that she was the delivery person to catch me off guard. And when my mother opened the door, Nikki would just barge herself in. I can't tell you how horrified we 6 Nikki. When this happened, we called Brad him preach her and take her back home. After that, Nikki stopped stalking calling me for a while. But then, one Brad passed away very suddenly with condition, since there was no one to stop Nikki, a loose cannon. Firstly, Nikki spent all the money inherited from Brad in a blink of an eye. She bought tons of high-end brand bags and ate out every day at a very expensive restaurant. As a result, Nikki became very obese. Also, she stopped doing any of the chores such as cleaning and taking out the trash. So, Nikki's house became full. and it was all a mess. Even the neighbors complained about Fred, and I didn't know what to do. To make matters worse, Nikki started to borrow money from the loan sharks. Unable to stop her extravagant lifestyle, even after spending all the money she had from Brad and savings, she continued to borrow and spend more money from loan sharks. Nikki even brought the debt collector to our house so we could pay her debts. When the cars of the debt collector parked and lined up at our lawn, I scared. Fortunately, both Fred and my father were able to scare off the debt collectors by taking a firm stand and turning them away. Then they dealt with them legally through the proper channels by saying we were not obligated to make payments. I couldn't stand Nikki anymore.
Even Fred said, since I do have siblings and dad has passed away, only blood-related family, but this much, I have no choice but to cut ties.
So then we decided to take a certain course of action. This year, we had a very long spring. So to get to my parents' house, I packed up my belongings and locked up the house before heading for my car. When I was about to open my car, I stood there. I knew that she would come over. I already predicted this situation. Nikki would come over to our house of the month for money. And this has going on for the past 3 months now. Of course, Fred and I do not give her any money at all.
Hey, Danielle. Today is the beginning of the spring, isn't it? I know you are bored, so I came over your company.
You are just saying that, but you, Jay, want money.
How could you say such thing, Damie? Isn't Fred on his business trip right now? I thought you might be lonely, so I came over.
Thanks, but no. Thanks, Nikki. I'm leaving and going over to my parents' place.
Well, that's great news. I hope you find something you like.
What?
You will be gone for couple days, I heard that burglars tend to break the holidays.
Nikki, it's okay. Please go back to place.
Don't worry. I can take care of your,
As she said this, Nikki just reached into her bag and tried to forcefully take my hand.
Stop it.
I quickly chopped off her wrists with a knife.
Ow.
Nikki was on the ground holding her.
Well then, I have to go now.
I ignored Nikki, who was still on the ground, and got in and started the car. I finally go to my parents' place.
Fred opened the door finally.
I wanted to say here I am with, when I saw Fred. I became relaxed, began to cry.
Fred hugged me tight. Fred let me cry in his arms until there were no more tears left in me anymore. That night, both of my parents went out to a restaurant and had dinner. Then, my phone rang. It was Nikki who was calling me. I forgot to block her. Since my phone won't stop ringing to pick up the phone, I had no other choice. This will be my last conversation with you anyway.
Hello? Is this Danielle? Hey, is your parents' house address this?
The one which is like 50 minutes away from your place.
Yes, that's the one. Why is your parents' house gone?
That's because my parents moved.
Where are you now, Danielle?
I am at my new parents' house. My parents moved. Oh, by the way, Fred and I moved also. Nikki, there is no place you can anymore. You have to take care of the rest by yourself.
What is the difference between a web designer and a web developer?
I tried to speak calmly, but when memories of Nikki picking on me resurfaced in my head, my voice became louder.
Nikki, in the first place, what you have done to me? Do you even know how much I suffer of you? I will never forgive you. Even if you are the mother of my husband, I will despise you for the rest of my life.
When I said this, Fred took the phone.
Mom, I've had enough. I'm cutting ties with you. Don't you ever get involved with us, Danielle's parents?
What a great idea.
Nikki was in shock, so we didn't know what she was trying to say. Then Fred hung up the phone and gave me a number to call. to cut ties completely from Nikki, jobs, and moved from the city to the area. We have already sold our house and we have now moved into our new place. Danielle has no way of finding where we live. I guess she's going to end up in a possible situation, being chased by collectors. But that is all her own fault. She that to herself. I don't feel sorry for her at all. It's her fault for what she has done, never reflected back on her own act. On the other hand, we got used to our old life and even had a baby. She is a very cute little girlie. Since my parents' house and my house are so close, I often visit my parents with Clear. My parents are very happy to see their grandchild, and I'm very glad we made it. I am looking forward to seeing Ella perform with Fred. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe and hit that like button. See you in the next video.